Okay, let me make sure I'm online. Okay. Hello, I'm Alex from A.P. Inc. Just waiting for the playback. Okay, I wasn't sure if my camera wasn't working. Okay, sorry. So today I'm gonna be picking up where I'd left off quite a while ago now. Um, I've been working on out okay, sorry. Um, I've been working on band and singer logos. So I'd left off on this one for Michael Jackson. So I've got the reference here. Hang on. I've got a pop-up that I can't make go away. There. Okay, sorry. So I've got the same reference for you. So to try to pick up where I left off, I think I want the hook to come down and kind of around the center. It would, I think it would be heavily in the artistic license. So I think this is supposed to be an M and this is supposed to be for represent a J, so like Michael Jackson. But let me grab my pencil really quick. Um it would distort the curve of the hook for the J so that it doesn't actually like disappear into the center circle. I don't know how to do this without completely distorting the hook on the J. I really don't know how else to do this, but to distort the J, the hook. I know I already said that, but to actually try to keep it in line with the actual logo. And even for that, okay, maybe it would still distort it, but to try to pull the bend, the bottom bend, further out so that the hook ends up on this side of the center circle cutout. So it's distorted, but it's still potentially gives me the chance to keep the integrity. Like it'll distort this part. Okay. But because I've brought it up too high, I think it would come up this high, but because I've pushed it out further, it is going to get in the way of this side of the M, so I have to, I think, push it down under the center line here. I think I've got the upper part of the hook a bit too square looking. Okay, I could try, because this I think might be a bit too distorted. I could try keeping it within this area here, which would still distort it. Let me try to duplicate this part of the M over here, and I'll come back to this. I'm way too close to the golden here, so I think I have to push, give myself another indicator line here, construction line, to put some distance between the logo and the word. So I'm just pushing up 1/16 of an inch. Okay, let's see how it looks if I try to keep the hook about here. Still distorted, but maybe it won't be that far off compared to what I was trying to do. It's kind of more like an egg shape though, than like circular. I'm not sure if this logo was actually ever used in an album or on an album. Like on the cover, sure, but on the actual CD or album itself, like I think I'm trying to remember the name of the album. I think it was on at least one, but to actually remember the name of the album, I'm drawing a blank. That's really kind of muddy. The depth or thickness of the line. It's I'm wondering if this is actually like a calligraphy pen with how it uh thins and thickens in areas. Not knowing exactly when this was created, I don't I'm thinking it potentially was with like a calligraphy pen and not like digital. Okay. I don't know if that really stands up, but given my ability and the parameters of where I'm trying to fit this. I think that's the best I can do. So to try and duplicate it over here, so I'm gonna put in another construction line here just to push the bottom of the curve of the hook up away from platinum. And then to try and make the same construction lines that I put here. I'm going to sharpen my pencil though. So measured out a 1/16 of an inch on either side of the center construction line here for the kind of square cutout here. 1/16 of an inch on either side, and then a 1/16 of an inch down. Okay, and then I've got to do a 1/16 of an inch here on both sides of the construction line. Excuse me. And then a 1/16 of an inch here. Trying to remember how I set up. Oh, glad I'm looking at this because this side does not mirror this side. So to try and fix this. Okay, I had measured down 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to give myself the same construction lines here. And that would be for this point here. And then to measure in 1/16 of an inch on either side for where this line curves in. Okay, and then for where this point hits, I had split this. So this is a 1/2 inch square. So the center would bring it quarter, yeah, 1/4 inch. Okay, so this tapers out to about 1/4 of an inch. So to give myself the same space here, So at the widest um, bend, this is a 1/16 of an inch gap between the top indicator line or construction line and the top of the symbol. I think my first one came out a lot closer than what I'm creating here. And if there wasn't such a wide gap between the last time I worked on this and right now, maybe I'd be a bit closer. try and pull the end of this leg inside the construction line the same way I have it here. Symmetry is still not something I'm very good at, but to at least attempt to just checking to see if I'm online. It seems that my playback may have froze. Hang on a moment. Okay, I guess I got kicked offline. My hook here was a bit too square, I think. Try to round it out a bit more. Okay. This isn't 100% like the reference, but I tried. Okay. Just looking over my work before I move on. Okay. I think I'll go with a 0.2 fine liner. We'll get the easy part out of the way first. Just making sure I got it all. Okay, I'm gonna give that a minute to dry, then I'll erase the pencil and fill in the shape. Okay, to fill this in and try to stay in the line, maybe a 1.0 fine liner. Okay, I think it's rough, but hopefully it gets the point across. Okay. So I think I've just got one left. So let me change the reference for you. So I think to start, excuse me, to put in the golden and platinum, okay, so measuring up a 1/16 of an inch on both. And then I had given myself a 1/4 of an inch, so measuring up 1/4 of an inch on both. Golden, and then to try to center platinum. Okay, so I think for this, maybe to try to fit the silhouette here and then fit Elvis here. I don't think I'm going to have enough time to finish this one, but to try to get a construction line set up. So that's measuring half. So this is an inch from the top edge here to kind of the center point here on both of them. So I just measured down a ½ inch here and then measured up a ½ inch to try to give myself a straight line. So this is about an inch. I think to measure over 1/4 inch and maybe to measure in no, this would be a 1/4 inch. That would be an 1/8 of an inch. And then from here, I think to give myself a 1/4 inch space for all this. This is just construction lines, so I can try to have it kind of centered in the space and the same on both. Not sure why my line here is so off. Okay, so Elvis. And then to try and fit the silhouette, it would to try to get the silhouette to kind of curve around the center hole here. So I measured over an 1/8 of an inch and then gave myself a ½ inch space for his waist or center point. So I gave myself the same lines there. Maybe we'll measure over an 1/8 of an inch from the center construction line for where his leg, this leg should hit. But I'm thinking just to accommodate the center circle here, his arm here, if I drew it exact, I think would end up here. It might be kind of awkward, but maybe to have his arm come up this way, or to pull it down to kind of parallel the center circle. It might be a tight fit, but from this line here to measure over a 1/2 inch for how to have his legs bent, and then maybe to measure over another 1/4 inch from the center construction line. And then from that point to measure over a 1/2 inch. Which that might be where his head would hit. Maybe. Unfortunately, I think there's no way around, at least for how I'm kind of mapping in the figure, that his arm is gonna go off the shape. I think to measure up, I think a 1/16 of an inch, just to create a space between the golden and the platinum and where his feet are gonna hit. Okay. I should probably start in on the figure, but I want to continue with the construction. So to try to map out how Elvis is going to work out in the spaces I've made. So V would be the center. This is I don't know what this would be. Over 1/2 an inch. So I think this would be the center line for where the V is going to hit. I think that's the center line. Okay, there is space between each letter. So I think E could be an eighth of an inch. I'm gonna run out of room though. If I put like a 16th of an inch space in between each letter. I mean, the alternative would be to bring Elvis out to the center line here to give myself a little bit more room. I think I'm gonna do that. I'd rather have too much room than not enough. And maybe instead of starting with E, I'll start with V and work my way out. But giving myself more room, I've got to refigure the center for where V is going to hit. Okay, this is 3/4 of an inch. I think the center line would be there. Let me fix this. Okay. V. I think well, that might be a bit too broad. To make the base of the V a 16th of an inch, and then for the top half, the split, to make that an eighth of an inch, I think. I don't know. This Elvis looks like it might have. I don't know if that's supposed to be like lights. Like I've seen signs or a sign, whatever, with Elvis, and that it was like one of those light letters. Uh, there's probably a specific name for it, but it almost resembles like an I-beam, each letter, and then the white dots would actually be lights. I might do this just straight black. I think to try to recreate this in this scale is going to be, I think, way too hard. But I think to just map out the letters and then use the thickness of the fine liner to indicate the thickness of the letter. Okay, Let me try to duplicate this on this side. Okay, V. Now on either side of the V, I'm going to have to give it some space just so the letters don't run into the top of the V. So I think maybe 1/4 of an inch on either side, which is gonna give me limited space for the ELIS. More construction lines. Okay. This is really gonna make it tight for E and L. E. L, and then to try to fit in S. I think S, an 1/8 of an inch. Splitting the difference. So this is 1/4 of an inch. So splitting the difference for the bottom of the top of the curve and the top of the bottom curve. So this here and this here. So that's a 1/16 of an inch. And then a 1/16 of an inch. And then just to rough in the S. Okay. And then okay, it might be kind of hard to see, but I've got Elvis mapped out on both now. Excuse me. If I can actually squeeze this in, that the entire silhouette of Elvis stays in the parameters I've given myself here. I don't, unless I shrink, which maybe I should do that. If I shrink the space I'm giving myself, like I could see this being where his jacket swoops out. Give myself um a spot where his foot needs to fall, his outer foot. Rough in the basic shape and then carve out. I think the space that I'm giving myself here, so you can see the split between his legs. The space I'm giving myself here, I think is going to have to shrink that negative space. but it's straight, but there's almost a kind of curve between his knee and the dip in for his ankle. I need to bring up the bottom of his pant leg here though. I think I need to bring the bottom of this pant leg up as well. I think with the space given here, the split is just going to be at the knees. I don't know, I might have to do this all over again. Yeah, I'm gonna have to refigure this whole space here. So between this construction line, I think to reconfigure this to try to fit in between an 1.5 inch gap. So that's an 1.5 inches. Make sure I stay within, I think, 1/8 of an inch. So the swoop of the jacket won't go beyond that point, I think. I don't know if that's really straight. Excuse me. Okay. I think I'm gonna restart this next time. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm gonna run out of time on this anyway, so I'm gonna leave this one here. If you'd like to join me next time, hopefully I can finish this, the silhouette, and we'll see exactly how long that takes. But, excuse me, if you'd like to join me next time to hopefully finish this, please make sure that you're following me and that your notifications are turned on so that you're notified for the next time I go live. But other than that, thank you to anybody who may have watched this either during or after. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.